What if the destruction of the One Ring had failed at the very last second? What if Sauron had reclaimed his ultimate weapon and plunged the world into eternal darkness? Welcome to the channel. Today, we're going to dive deep into a hypothetical Lord of the Rings scenario that will change everything you thought you knew about Tolkien's masterpiece. Take a deep breath and let's go. In the hellish depths of Mount Doom, where the flames that once forged destiny itself still burn with ancient malice, we find ourselves at the very precipice of eternity. The air here is thick, poisonous, choked with sulfur, and the weight of countless ages pressing down like a mountain upon the soul. Every breath threatens to corrupt the lungs. Every heartbeat echoes with the malevolent whispers of power beyond mortal comprehension. Here, in this cavernous crucible of Sauron's making, the fate of all Middle-earth balances on the thinnest of threads, held by the trembling hands of the smallest and most unlikely of heroes. Picture, if you will, Frodo Baggins, once a round and comfortable hobbit from the pastoral Shire, now bearing the terrible toll of an impossible journey that has stretched across months of unimaginable hardship. His body is emaciated, scarred by countless trials, his once bright hobbiton eyes now hollowed by exhaustion, and the ring's insidious whispers that never cease, never allow him peace. The corruption runs deeper than just flesh, eating at his thoughts, his dreams, his very soul. The golden ring hangs around his neck, pulsating with its own wicked heartbeat, growing heavier, more insistent, more unavoidable with each passing moment that brings him closer to this final confrontation with destiny. Behind him, through the thick volcanic air that burns the throat and stings the eyes, come the sounds of desperate, final battle echoing across the wasteland. Aragorn leads the Free Peoples in a courageous last stand at the Black Gate, buying precious time they can only hope and pray Frodo will use wisely. Great winged eagles soar through smoke-choked skies, their piercing, proud cries echoing across the wastelands, like the songs of ancient days when the world was young. Gandalf's staff blazes brightly with an almost blinding white fire, pushing back the tide of darkness threatening to consume what remains of hope. The very earth shudders, groaning, beneath the weight of armies clashing, of hope desperately wrestling with despair in what may be the final contest between light and shadow. But here, in Mount Doom's deepest chamber, time seems suspended, frozen in a crystallized moment of infinite possibility and terrifying dread. The lava bubbles hungrily beneath Frodo's feet, waiting patiently for the ring that was born in these very depths millennia ago. Steam rises in ghostly spirals, carrying with it the screams of ancient forges, the echoes of power being born, and the memory of Sauron's malevolent laughter when he first crafted this, his ultimate instrument of domination, his true masterpiece of evil. Frodo's hand shakes violently as he reaches for the chain that has become both his burden and his purpose. This is it. This is the moment that will define the third age of Middle-earth, the moment that will shape destiny itself. The ring pulses with its own dark, hungry heartbeat, sensing its approaching destruction, fighting against the hands that have carried it so far from safety. In distant Barad-dûr, the eye of Sauron burns with desperate fury, its malevolent gaze able to pierce space and time, fixed upon this single cavern where his ultimate fate will be decided by the will of one small creature who never wanted greatness. Sam Gamgee lies unconscious nearby, his faithful heart, his loyal soul, finally overcome by exhaustion and the poisonous air of Mordor that corrupts all living things. He cannot offer his encouraging words now. His steady presence is gone, leaving Frodo alone with his terrible burden, as he has always truly been alone with it since that distant day in the Shire when Gandalf revealed the ring's true nature and changed everything forever. The weight of ages presses down upon this singular moment. The spirits of the elves who will fade become less than memories if the ring is destroyed. The hopes of men who dream of a world free, clean from shadow, where their children can grow in light. The songs of the Ents that grow quieter with each passing year. The trees themselves forgetting the ancient words, all of it balanced on the trembling shoulders of one small hobbit who never asked for greatness, who wanted nothing more than his comfortable garden, his books, his peaceful existence, his simple life. But fate, that cruel mistress of destiny, had other plans entirely. The moment arrives like the tolling of a funeral bell, heavy with finality and dread. Frodo raises the ring above the churning lava, his face contorted with the tremendous effort of fighting its influence that claws at his mind like living talons. The golden band catches the hellish light of the volcanic fires, seeming to pulse with a life, a malevolence entirely its own. His lips move in silent prayer, perhaps to Ilúvatar himself, perhaps to the memory of the beloved Bilbo who started this journey so long ago, perhaps simply begging for the strength to let go, to finish what must be done, to end what should never have begun. But in that instant of hesitation, that single heartbeat, where doubt creeps like a living thing into his mind and poisons his resolve, a familiar rasping voice cuts through the sulphurous air like a blade through silk, like a long-lost, hated memory, suddenly springing back to terrible life with renewed venom. My precious! Gollum emerges from the shadows like a spectre of greed given form, a living nightmare born of obsession and need and passion that has consumed every fibre of his corrupted being. His pale, slimy skin gleams with perspiration and volcanic heat, his bulbous eyes fixed with manic intensity upon the ring, the one thing in all of Middle-earth that has ever brought him joy, ever given his wretched existence meaning. For months he has followed, driven by an obsession that transcends reason, transcends even the instinct for self-preservation, reaching beyond sanity itself into realms of madness that few minds could comprehend or survive. He has tracked them through the treacherous Emyn Muil, through the haunting dead marshes where ancient faces stare up from stagnant waters, through the spider-infested tunnels of Cirith Ungol, where death waits in every shadow. Nothing could stop him. Nothing could turn him from his purpose. Not armies, not distance, not the very fires of Mount Doom itself. Frodo, weakened by the ring's burden and the toxic atmosphere that eats at his strength like acid, cannot react quickly enough to this sudden assault. Gollum's emaciated form proves deceptively strong as desperation fuels his muscles, giving him the strength of madness itself, the power of absolute need. He leaps with the fury of a wild animal defending its young, his clawed fingers reaching for the only thing in all of Middle-earth that has ever brought him joy, ever granted him true happiness in his long tormented existence. The struggle is brief but vicious, filled with the desperation of creatures fighting for their only salvation. Frodo stumbles backward, his foot slipping on the treacherous stone made slick with volcanic vapor and the sweat of death itself. Gollum's teeth sink into the hobbit's finger with a sickening crunch that echoes through the chamber like breaking bones. The scream that tears from Frodo's throat echoes through the chamber, a sound of pure agony that seems to awaken the very mountain itself, to stir every stone around them with malevolent awareness. And in that moment of triumph, as Gollum dances with manic glee at the cavern's edge, clutching both the severed finger and his precious ring while performing his grotesque victory dance, fate plays its cruelest hand. He should fall. Destiny demands it. The story of the entire universe requires it. The very laws of narrative themselves cry out for his destruction. But instead of falling into the lava as destiny originally demanded, instead of the screaming flames that should have ended his miserable existence and taken the ring to destruction with him in a blaze of redemptive fire, Gollum's foot finds purchase on a protruding ledge that should not have been there, should not have provided salvation. His long years of living in darkness, of navigating treacherous cave systems with the skill of a creature born to shadow, serve him well in this moment when they should have utterly failed him. He scrambles back up the rocky wall like some grotesque spider, the ring clutched to his chest like a lover embracing their beloved, crooning to it in the ancient tongue of his people with words of endearment that would make angels weep. My precious, my love, we are together again. Yes, we are, precious, never to be parted, never again. Frodo collapses in a pool of his own blood, streaming from his mutilated hand, his strength finally spent after carrying such a burden for so impossibly long. Sam stirs at the sound of his master's agony, but it is too late, far too late for anything but despair. In that instant, across all of Middle-earth, the world itself shudders with the weight of destiny denied. The ring has not been destroyed. The possibility of hope, which had burned so bright just moments before, gutters like a candle in a hurricane, leaving only darkness behind. In his dark tower, Sauron feels the ring's continued existence like a surge of electricity through his incorporeal being, and slowly, terribly, the Dark Lord begins to laugh with joy unbound. The transformation begins immediately, rippling outward from Mount Doom like a stone cast into still water. But this is no simple disturbance of nature. This is the reshaping of reality itself through the power of the One Ring returned to its master. As Sauron reclaims his ring through Gollum's possession, the very air grows thick with malevolence so potent it makes the throat burn to breathe, choking everything living with corruption that seeps into bone and blood and soul. The volcanic mountain, which had seemed ready to destroy the ring in its fires just moments before, now serves as a beacon of the Dark Lord's renewed power, spreading corruption and shadow rather than cleansing flame. Every vent, every fissure, now breathes forth not just lava and ash, but pure malice given form, poisoning the very winds that carry it across the land. Gollum's body convulses violently as Sauron's essence flows through the ring into his corrupted flesh, transforming him into something far more terrible than the wretched creature he had been before. The transformation is grotesque to witness. His wretched spine straightens with supernatural strength, his pale skin darkening to an ashen grey that seems to absorb light itself, his bulbous eyes now burning with the same terrible fire as his master's great eye. When he speaks, it is with two voices layered upon each other, his own pitiful whine buried deep beneath Sauron's terrible bass rumble that seems to shake the very foundations of the mountain. "Rise, my servants," the voice commands through Gollum's throat, carrying across all of Mordor with supernatural power, and across all of that accursed realm. The orcs and trolls and fell beasts answer with renewed vigor that strikes terror into the hearts of their enemies. What had been a desperate last stand at the Black Gate becomes a massacre as Sauron's forces, suddenly infused with their master's terrible will flowing through the ring's power, surge forward with supernatural strength that no mortal army can hope to withstand. Frodo lies bleeding on the cavern floor, watching in absolute horror as his worst nightmares unfold before his eyes, like some terrible vision granted by dark gods. The ring, which he has carried so far and suffered so much to destroy, now pulses with dark energy just yards away from him, forever beyond his reach. Through his connection to the ring, forged over months of bearing its burden and fighting its influence, he can feel Sauron's consciousness expanding like some vast spider's web, reaching out across Middle-earth with grasping, incorporeal tentacles of shadow that corrupt everything they touch. At the Black Gate, the tide of battle shifts with devastating swiftness that catches even the most experienced warriors completely unprepared. Aragorn, fighting valiantly at the front lines with Andúril blazing in his hands, suddenly staggers as waves of despair wash over the armies of the West like a physical force. His sword, Andúril, reforged from the shards of Narsil that once cut the ring from Sauron's hand, dims as if responding to some fundamental change in the world's balance, its light growing weak and sickly. Around him, soldiers who had fought with the fury of desperation now falter as hopelessness seeps into their hearts like poison, corrupting even their will to resist the darkness. "Something is wrong," Legolas calls out, his keen elven senses detecting the shift in the very fabric of reality, feeling something in existence itself turning against them with malevolent intelligence. His arrows, which had flown true and deadly throughout the battle, now seem to curve away from their targets, as if the air itself has turned against the forces of good. Even the wind conspires against them now, carrying their words away while amplifying the terrible war cries of the enemy. Gimli's axe grows heavy in his hands as if made of lead rather than steel, and even his stout dwarfish heart begins to quail before the supernatural dread that washes over the battlefield like a tide of darkness. The very ground beneath their feet seems less solid, as if the earth itself rejects their presence. From the sky, Gandalf's voice booms across the battlefield as he witnesses the catastrophe unfolding below with eyes that see far more than mortal vision can comprehend. The ring survives. Sauron has reclaimed his power. The wizard's staff blazes with desperate white light as he attempts to rally the failing forces with every scrap of power he still commands. But even his ancient authority seems diminished in the face of the ring's renewed presence in the world, his magic struggling against the weight of returned evil. The great eagles, led by Gwaihir the Windlord, suddenly wheel away from the battlefield as if struck by an invisible force of tremendous power. Their proud cries turn to shrieks of pain as Sauron's malice reaches even into the pure air where they soar, corrupting even the realm of sky and cloud. The fell beasts of the Nazgul, meanwhile, grow larger and more terrible with each passing moment, their wings casting shadows that seem to drain the life from anything they touch, leaving withered grass and cracked earth in their wake. In Barad-dûr, the Dark Tower itself begins to change in ways that defy natural law. What had been a structure of black stone and iron now seems to pulse with organic life, as if the ring's return has awakened something fundamental and terrible in its very architecture. Spikes of shadow metal burst from its walls, reaching toward the sky like the claws of some buried titan clawing its way toward freedom. In the days that follow, Middle-earth transforms into a realm of perpetual shadow and despair, a world where light itself has become forbidden, and hope is nothing more than a distant, fading memory. With the ring restored to him, Sauron's power grows exponentially with each passing hour, feeding on itself, consuming everything that once bore hope, or life, or beauty, leaving only corruption and decay in its wake. The transformation spreads outward from Mordor like a plague of darkness, withering crops in fields that had known abundance for generations, poisoning rivers that had run clear since the world was young, and driving even the bravest hearts to madness with whispers that come in the darkest hours of night. The very sun seems dimmer now, as if Sauron's malice has reached even into the heavens to strangle the light at its source. Minas Tirith, the white city that had stood as a beacon of hope for generations of men, begins to crumble under the relentless weight of Sauron's malice, pressing against it like a physical force. Its white stones darken to grey, then black, as if the very light is being drained from them by some terrible hunger that cannot be satisfied. The city that once shone like a jewel now resembles nothing more than a tomb, its towers cracking, its walls weeping tears of black moisture that stains everything it touches. Aragorn, now king of a realm under siege by forces beyond mortal comprehension, watches helplessly as his people flee southward in massive caravans of refugees, abandoning homes their families have known for centuries. The Pelennor Fields, where such a mighty victory had been won against the forces of Mordor in what now seems like a different age entirely, lie barren and scarred, the grass blackened and the earth itself salted with evil that will prevent anything from growing there for generations to come. Gandalf the White finds his power significantly diminished in the face of the ring's renewed presence in the world, the balance of creation itself having shifted toward darkness. The wizard who once stood as equal to Saruman now struggles to maintain even simple magics that once came as naturally as breathing. His white robes grow grey, then darker still, not from corruption of his spirit, but from the simple exhaustion of fighting an increasingly hopeless battle against overwhelming odds. He gathers the remaining members of the Fellowship, knowing that their original quest has become something far more desperate, not the destruction of evil, which now seems impossible, but merely the survival of good in a world that has turned against it. Legolas brings word from the woodland realms that fills even his immortal heart with dread deeper than any he has known in his long centuries of life. The forests of Middle-earth are dying with a speed that defies natural law. Lothlorien's golden leaves turn brown and fall like tears from Galadriel's eyes, carpet the ground with decay. Fangorn Forest grows silent as the Ents retreat deeper into their domains, their ancient songs replaced by sorrowful dirges that speak of endings and forgotten dreams. The elves, sensing the fundamental shift in the world's balance with their immortal wisdom, begin the great exodus to the Grey Havens in unprecedented numbers. Even those who had planned to remain in Middle-earth for centuries to come now see no future in a world where the Ringbearer has failed so utterly. Gimli reports that the Mountain Kingdoms fare no better under the weight of spreading darkness. The proud halls of Erebor echo with the sound of evacuation as the dwarves seal their deepest tunnels and prepare for a siege that may last centuries, if they can survive it at all. Khazad-dûm, already lost to shadow and flame, now serves as a breeding ground for creatures of darkness that pour forth like water from a broken dam, filling the deep places of the world with corruption. The misty mountains themselves seem to grow taller and more treacherous with each passing day, as if the earth itself rejects the touch of living things that still carry light within their hearts. But perhaps most tragic of all is the fate of the Shire, that green and peaceful land that had remained untouched through all the tumults of the wider world throughout the long ages of Middle-earth. The Hobbit's pastoral homeland now finds itself in the direct path of Sauron's wrath, and the Dark Lord remembers well which corner of Middle-earth produced the one who came so close to destroying him forever. His revenge is swift and merciless beyond description. Bag End burns with fires that cannot be quenched by water, its round door hanging open like a screaming mouth. The party tree withers and dies overnight, its ancient branches cracking and falling to crush the homes below. The green dragon falls silent as its patrons flee westward, with whatever possessions they can carry, leaving behind everything they have ever known. Hobbiton becomes a ghost town within a single week, its round doors sealed shut, and its windows dark as graves. Those hobbits who cannot flee in time find themselves changed by prolonged exposure to the ring's corrupting influence that now blankets their homeland like a poisonous fog. Their cheerful natures twist into something small and bitter and afraid, their laughter replaced by whispers and their songs by silence. Sam and Frodo, if they survive their ordeal in Mount Doom at all, return to find their homeland transformed beyond all recognition or hope of restoration. Sam's beloved garden at Bag End lies choked with thorns and poisoned weeds that grow with supernatural speed. The mill wheel no longer turns by the water, which now runs black and foul-smelling toward the sea, carrying corruption to distant shores. As months pass into years, Sauron's dominion becomes absolute and unshakable. The Nazgul, emboldened by their master's ultimate victory, hunt down the scattered remnants of the free peoples with ruthless efficiency that leaves no hiding place safe. One by one, the last strongholds of resistance fall to shadow. Rohan's golden halls grow dark and silent. Dale becomes a city of the dead where no voice speaks and no light burns. Even far Eriador finds itself under the shadow of the eye that sees all and forgives nothing. Through it all, Gollum serves as Sauron's most devoted servant and most perfect vessel for his malevolent will. The creature that was once a hobbit-like being now stands transformed into something far more terrible, a fusion of his own twisted nature with the Dark Lord's limitless malice given form. He takes particular pleasure in hunting down other ring-bearers and those who once bore hope, driven by a jealousy that transcends his former obsession with the ring itself. In the end, as the last ships sail from the Grey Havens carrying elves and what few others can escape this new darkness engulfing the world, Middle-earth enters its fourth age not with hope and renewal as the stories promised, but with the crushing weight of absolute tyranny that will endure until the breaking of the world itself. The ring, which should have been destroyed in the fires of Mount Doom, instead becomes the foundation of an empire of shadow that stretches from the Sea of Rhûn to the Grey Havens, from the Northern Waste to Far Harad, with no corner of the world remaining free from its influence. And in the ruins of what was once the Shire, a single Mallan seed, a gift from Galadriel that Sam never had the chance to plant in happier soil, lies buried beneath the ash and corruption, waiting for a dawn that may never come to this darkened world. This is the price of a single moment's failure. This is the world that emerges when even the smallest finger slips at the most crucial moment in all of history. The shadow has triumphed completely, and Middle-earth will never again know the light of hope or the sound of joyful laughter echoing beneath free skies.